Right, what's up guys? Thank you for tuning in to another video. In this video and the coming videos, we are going to try and build a bike for under 500 bucks. And that even includes buying the motorcycle. So we got quite the challenge ahead of us. So if you're interested in that, definitely don't forget to subscribe. I also think I have the perfect bike for this challenge. So let's go pick it up and see what we got. Oh shit. Alright, so this is the bike. It's a 1978 CB400 Twin. I bought this bike, I want to say about 4 years ago. I actually bought another CB400 Twin at the same time as well. It was kind of a package deal. It was 300 bucks for the both of them. I also actually made 2 videos about those bikes. Those were will it run videos. Well, as you obviously can tell, it does run. It is very sketchy though. The front brake very much is dragging and at least one of the rear shocks is broken. So it definitely needs some love. I'm gonna give it a quick wash first because it's very dirty, and if we're gonna put our hands on it, might as well clean it up a little bit. So we're gonna give it a quick wash. After that we'll put it on the lift and see what we're working with. Alright, so now that we got the bike on the lift, I think it's time for a well overdue service. So there is a couple of things I bought for the bike. That's some fresh oil filter of course, spark plugs, fork seals, and a little bit heavier fork oil than was usually used. The idea is to give it a little bit more of a sturdy feel. Besides that, we're going to take a closer look at the head. I think these valves definitely need an adjustment, and we're also going to check whether the timing chain, the cam chain, needs any adjusting or tightening. Let's do it. Damn. Oof. All right, last little bits of oil are dripping out. The new oil filter is already in. So next up I want to take the rocker cover off and take a look at these valves. So in order to do that, you're going to have to take the seat and the tank off. Should be just these two bolts. Give it a little tap. All right. All right, so we got the rocker cover off, pretty easy. You do have to move the CDI and the coil out of the way. No big deal, just 4 bolts. Now we're going to turn the lift around so we can spin the flywheel and check for top dead center and check our valves. If you can probably hear this. You're not supposed to hear this, so at least this valve needs adjustment. But I'm guessing all of them are going to be absolutely rubbish, but we'll find out. So let's turn this lift around and take a closer look. All right, to put everything at top dead center, we need to take this cover off. We're also going to take out the spark plug so it doesn't make any compression, which should make it a little bit easier to twist the flywheel. So first thing first, we'll take this cover off. After that, we'll take the spark plugs out. The rocker cover's off, cover on the side here as well, which means that we can turn our flywheel counterclockwise and adjust our valves. So what you do is you turn it right here, and on your flywheel and your case you have a marking, and you can find top dead center. So if we take a closer look, you can see the marking right here. There's a T for top dead center and a little dot thing on your case. All right, so now that we've turned it, we can determine which of the 2 cylinders is at top dead center. It's very easy. We just feel on the tappets which one's loose. As you can hear right here, these are the ones are loose. So that's the right cylinder, the first cylinder. I actually already adjusted those valves. Those are good. So we're going to give it another turn. Let's see. And that should give us our top dead center on the second cylinder, the one on the left. I'm not sure whether you can hear it, but those are the ones that are a bit loose right now. So now we can adjust these. So we'll take our feeler gauge, this one right here. This is 0.10 millimeters. And 0.10 millimeters is for the intake valves. So we can put it in between right here. And this one's actually a little bit tight. So we're going to loosen it up a bit so it's just right. So first we loosen this one up like that. Back it off a bit to make our life a little bit easier. Now we take our feeler gauge, turn this out a little bit because we remember it was a little bit too tight. We put it in between. Now this is too much slack, and we're going to try to find the point where it's exactly just a little bit hard to move, but still you can still move your feeler gauge. So something like this should be good. So there's just a little bit of resistance. This is a little too tight, so we back it off a bit. this should be good. Now we hold our screwdriver in place, and we take our wrench, we tighten it down. Like that. Now to double check whether we actually did a good job or not, we're going to take our feeler gauge again, put it in between. You can move it, but there is a bit of resistance, so that feels really good. Next we'll do the same thing for the other inlet valve as well. And there we go. And that feels much better. So usually it takes one or two tries to get it exactly right. It's no big deal. Just make sure that you do it right. Otherwise, you'll be doing it for nothing. Make sure that these are tight enough. Yeah, that's good. Right, now for the exhaust, it's 0.14 millimeters. So right here we have our 0.10. So we're gonna take out our 0.04. Let's see. This should be it, 0.04. Together that makes 14, 0.14 millimeters. This one is a little too tight as well. I can't get it in between, and it's halfway in between and it's already kind of stuck. As you can see, I can't move it. So we're going to lose this nut as well. Oh, if it wants to come loose, there we go. Back it off a little bit. So there's a little bit of resistance, but it can move. So that means all of our valves are adjusted correctly. One thing that I actually didn't know, but is to tighten the cam chain. You have to have the engine running, you have to have it idling, and what you do is you back off a nut on the back of the engine right here, and then tighten it back again, and it should automatically tighten. We're not going to run the engine right now because there's no oil in it. We're also going to take the engine out of the bike at some point, so we're just going to leave it as is, but that's definitely something we need to remember. So now we're going to put it all back together again. It's good to know that the valves are all adjusted properly now. Next up, forks. Alright, so we tied the back down with a strap. As you can see, there's some play here, so that should make life a whole lot easier taking the front wheel out. First thing that I'm going to do is loosen up this fender, or take it off completely actually. So that's probably like a 12 or a 10, right? There we go. Now we take off the brake. And there we go. Alright, so next up is the wheel. It's kind of weird because one fork has the ability to just take the bottom off and you can take the wheel out with the axle still in it. This one doesn't have that. But we're gonna take the axle out anyway, so we can take the speedometer thingy of the axle. So let's take this one off. There we go. Alright, so that's everything taken care of to actually take the shocks out, or the forks. So far everything on this bike has been very forgiving, so that's very nice. Like I said, to take the forks out, you just have to show you a little bit of a better look. Is these bolts right here, these two, so this one and this one, and they both have a cap on top. This one, if you loosen those, the fork should be able to come out. So we're gonna give it a go. go. This is nasty. There we go. Perfect. All right, so first I'm going to take the spring out. After that, we'll just dump it in here. We'll clean that spring before we put it back in. Well, there was not a lot left in there. Also pretty much white, so I'm guessing there's a lot of just water that got in there over time with condensation and stuff. So I think these forks will feel like brand new after we put new seals and fluid in these. All right, so next up we have our fork seals that we gotta do. So the first thing that we have to do is take these dust caps off, which are pretty stuck, but there we go. Oh, that's absolutely disgusting. Okay, damn. All right, what I actually forgot is before I can take the seal out, I have to take the entire leg out, this thing. And in order to do that, there's a bolt right here, this one. I actually already loosened it up. We should be able to take this one out. Ah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. Just the other side. And I know this looks very janky, but the workshop manual actually says you're supposed to do it this way, so yeah. Got it out. Right, so according to the workshop manual, you're just supposed to put a screwdriver underneath it and just wiggle it out. I've got a feeling that these seals might actually be the original ones, because they're super stuck and rock solid. What I actually did with the other one was heat it up, this thing, and just start jamming a screwdriver in there. I know that's not the way you're supposed to do it, but if it doesn't come out, we've got a problem. There we go. Right, so this is the inside. Probably see this little bit of a screwdriver mark right there, but the seal is going to sit quite a bit lower, so I'm not too worried about it. So let's put our new seal in. That should be it. That looks pretty good. So now we'll put our retainer clippy thing back in here. All right, so the fork is mostly assembled again. We got the new fork seal in as well. The workshop manual calls for 137, between 137 and 143 cc's of fork oil. I've got this syringe type thing. Milliliters and cc's are the same thing. So we're going to put 140 in, right in the middle. I'm hoping the syringe will be accurate enough. So we're just gonna open this up. All right, so unfortunately the syringe doesn't go deep enough into the canister to actually take out the fluid, so we're just gonna put it in this old packaging. So I'm just gonna pour some in here. So 2 times 60 makes 120, and 20 should make 140. Alright, so as you can see, the front end is back together. Everything seems to be working fine. The wheel rolls really smooth, so that's good. Shocks are all back together, everything super simple to do. So the last thing that I want to check is the brake, because like I said in the beginning of the video, the front brake was dragging. I'm not really sure why that is, because it was working as well. So it's not fully returning. You can see the brakes right here. As you can see, the pads are pretty worn, but good enough for a couple of more kilometers. So when I use the brake, like this, you can see it moving, and it is returning as well, but not all the way. So I feel like massaging it back and forth a couple of times should probably alleviate us of those problems. Right, so unfortunately the camera died, but I was able to push the piston back quite a bit. As you can see, it's sitting right here. I used this tool for that. Unfortunately, using just the 2 screwdrivers wasn't enough. Took the brake pads out as well. These pins that go through the caliper to hold the pads were super rusty and really hard to get out. So I used the wire brush, and now they're pretty smooth. So we're gonna put it back together, mount the caliper to the fork. We're gonna definitely have to bleed the brake, and after that we'll check whether all the stuff that we did actually worked or not. Alright, so as you can see, the bike's completely back together again. The front brake still dragging a little bit, but definitely a whole lot less. Before we start rebuilding it, I prefer to take it a couple of spins around the block just to see how it feels. If it loosens up, that's absolutely great. If it doesn't, we will rebuild it. It's only around like 20 bucks, so not the worst thing. So that means all the maintenance to this bike is done. I gotta say, everything went pretty smoothly. The bike is very forgiving, nothing stuck or anything, so I've got a feeling that we got a good bike right here. In the next video, we are going to build an entire new subframe. So if you're interested in that, definitely don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you there. Thank you.